the idea of Buster Posey and Tony Vitello and being back next year. Just let's explore that concept for a minute. Let's just imagine it.
Okay.
The Giants come out at whether it's late in the year or the end of the year, and they announce that Buster Posey and Tony Vitello will both be retained. How does that grab you?
Me personally?
Yeah.
It grabs me in a way of you're just basically telling me that as an ownership group, you don't care about the success of the team because Buster Posey has been not an unmitigated disaster, but it's been a failure. And we did grades the other day, and you did the grades on the Giants season. You gave him an F.
Yeah.
And so if you want to assign grades to Buster Posey and Tony Vitello, I think Buster, heading into the deadline, still lots that can go his way. It's a D- right now this year. Hauser and Malley have been failures. Arise has been awesome. And the handling of Eldridge, I don't think was great. Casey Schmidt has popped, and that's somebody that he didn't even really tab or draft. And so he's been not good. And then Tony Vitello, I would give him a grade of probably a D or a D-. And I know he's new to pro ball and all the rest of it. So I look at it this way. If you have a year that has 95 losses, and that's where they're headed for 67 and 95, which would be the third worst record in San Francisco Giants history, and you bring back the skipper, and you bring back the president of baseball ops, it doesn't matter what his name is, you're telling me that as an ownership group, you don't really care about the on-field product. You're going to draw $2.75 million. You're going to be one of the worst teams in baseball. Let's just bring the gang back together. So, that's the way I look at it.
Okay, and that's fair. 888-957-9570. How would you feel if the Giants bring Buster Posey and Tony Vitello back again next year? What do you do in college if you get an F in a class?
You retake it.
There you go.
Or you change your major. Or you just decide that you're not going to enroll in school and live in the fraternity house anyway.
Have them leave the names out of it?
you're looking right at him.
No. Quick aside. I just heard this story last week. I'm not going to tell you who this was. But let's just say the boyfriend of a family member. I'll go that far.
Okay.
The boyfriend of a family member, a younger family member of mine. He's telling me this story last week. His roommate, right? He just graduated college. He did. And his roommate, last year, his family lives overseas in Europe. I think he was Spanish. And his family is flying out last summer for graduation. There's one problem.
Uh-oh.
He didn't tell them over the last 2 years that he stopped going to class.
2 years. So they're coming out expecting a cap and a gown.
Correct. And he hasn't been to class in 2 years.
That's awkward.
He just stopped going and never really kind of did anything about it.
Let alone mention it.
Yeah, they're like, did you drop out? It's like, I don't even know if I officially dropped out. It just didn't go. So all the questions start coming up, like, were the parents still sending money? And they're like, I don't know what the whole deal was with, because it's like, where'd that money go? I don't know what the whole deal was with tuition and everything, but they were definitely helping with rent. And I think he was just working some, or at least maybe he wasn't.
Right.
They thought he was working. I don't know what the hell's going on. But can you imagine? They flew overseas. And I guess the story was, he goes, yeah, he just kind of got caught in a lie, and then he couldn't figure out his way out of it. And I was thinking to myself, if you got caught in that lie and you couldn't figure your way out of it, wouldn't you try to figure your way out of it before they got on the plane?
Yes.
Even if you ran it for 2 years, wouldn't you be like, it's time for me to fall on the sword before they board the plane from Europe headed for Southern California?
Because if you want to continue that lie, now you're going to have to get a cap and gown, and what? You're just going to pretend to be in the graduation, and they're not going to call your name, so you're not going to cross the stage. Oh, Mom, Dad, they must...
Yeah, with your palms up like
right.
pods. What? They forgot me.
They forgot me. That's awkward. But to your point,
anyway.
If you get an F, it doesn't necessarily mean that you go ahead and take the class again. And if you do take the class again, you might get another F.
So this is why I'm trying to figure out why my opinion is what it is. I want the Giants to keep both of them. because I want to see them retake the class. And I'm not 100% sure why. Maybe for one, it's Buster Posey. Maybe that's part of it. You know, as a Giants fan, I can't ever not like Buster Posey. That's just not even it's not in my DNA.
I get it. I take the like-dislike out of it.
Sure, and that's fair. I'm just saying, it's never going to be about that. I'm never going to just pound on a table and be like, got to get this guy out of the organization as quick as possible. Now, Vitello's a completely different story. We didn't know him from Adam, less than a year ago, and now he's the manager of the Giants, and I think that he's been dealt, A, a really tough hand, but then B, he's also not played that hand very well. He's made his mistakes. There's no question. It's been wobbly at best at times. But I'm not sort of offended by him as the manager, and I am still curious about this whole idea of college to pro. It's not like he's a jerk, and the stuff that he's doing is just unrecoverable. This may not be the most compelling answer, but I'll never forget something that Farhan Zaidi said at the introductory press conference for Gabe Kapler.
Nice.
And one thing he said was, we have a lot of data, and I would imagine this is true outside of baseball too, but we have a lot of data that when somebody takes on a job for the very first time, boy, they do a lot better the second time around because you learn from your mistakes. And there's something in me that wants to see if these guys can learn from their mistakes. Now, first and foremost, obviously, the trade deadline's coming. And they're going to have to do some serious moonwalking in order to retool this roster. But Buster Posey and Tony Vitello, though we may not have wanted this in these positions at the beginning of the year, are rookies. And we give a little space for rookies to throw up all over themselves and then try to get better. It's kind of part of the deal when it's a player, but we're not giving these guys that latitude now. And I'm not saying you have to, but I kind of want to. I want to see these guys try again.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that I don't want to see them try again. I just don't think that either one of them has done well enough to deserve that. And I'm thinking about the news that broke today. My friend Derek Petrak, shout out Contra Costa Country Club. He's a diehard listener. He texted me this morning about Steve Yzerman. He's a Detroit guy. Steve Yzerman is the Buster Posey of the Detroit Red Wings, and he stepped down today as general manager because he's been a disaster. Now, he got more than a year, and this would be, Buster will be a year and a half. Yep. He was hired mid-year last year, right, if I'm not mistaken, and so Buster would have, less time than Yzerman, but it's clear it wasn't working in Detroit, and I don't think it's working here, and he's not the only one that's not working in the front office, and the manager, I do think that, whether or not it's better the second time around, maybe that second time around is in 6 years for a different team.
Maybe.
I think this is a mismatch where you've got a veteran team and a rookie manager. You've got a young core of players. You got a veteran group. You've got a manager and a very young coaching staff as well. I think the whole thing is just a total mismatch.
I can't, in this moment with what we've seen, I can't disagree. But what I can also say is, I think anytime there's turnover in an organization, there becomes a learning curve. Even if it's just learning each other, I don't want the Giants to have 3 managers in 3 years. I don't think that's good. I think you do, in a way, now you back up the truck and start over again next year if you change managers. Look, you can certainly address this mid-year next year if it's still going as bad. But Buster had a lot to learn. Tony Vitello had a lot to learn. If we were clear thinking about it at the beginning of the year, we might have actually predicted that rather than being surprised by it. And I have this desire in me as a fan to see if they did indeed learn a lot. Everybody has said that all year. They got a lot to learn. Well, let's find out if they did. Let's find out if they did. Because the only way to not be a rookie manager and a rookie general manager is come back next year and not be a rookie anymore. And so, turning the whole thing over again, and now we got to get the players and the chemistry and everything back on course. There may be plenty going on behind the scenes that I don't know.
Right.
And maybe everybody's at each other's throats, and maybe they hate each other, and maybe the locker room was lost, or maybe he never had it in the first place. And if that's the case, that's a decision to be made.
Yeah.
But I just don't, like, this went sideways in so many ways that I certainly don't put it all on Tony. And I think having a third manager in 3 years might be almost more embarrassing than just, try again.
Yeah, and it would be a fourth manager in 5 years if you go back to the last year of Kapler.
Correct.
Melvin got the 2 and Vitello would get the 1. But I look at everything that's gone on from the beginning of the year through now, and there have been so many things that reek of unprofessional and a guy who's just not in command of the clubhouse. And then you go upstairs to Buster Posey, and your offseason moves were Arise and Bader and 2 pitchers who are no longer in the rotation. You didn't address the bullpen. So I don't know if it's Buster, marching to the beat of ownership. And if he thought we're going to go outside the box and only spend $3 million a year on a rookie manager because, we can do that and the price point is there. That's why Tony or Buster or Tony, if they both come back, to me, it just says ownership, you don't give a crap. This team is terrible. This team on the field is kind of embarrassing. And let's just bring them all back because we don't want to buy out Tony and we don't want to desecrate Buster Posey. And you know what? We got another theater we need to go buy.